Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is here. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I have an update in the lawsuit against David Miscavige by Valerie Haney. Former Sea Org member Valerie Haney used to work directly for David Miscavige, directly for Shelley Miscavige. And for any of you who have seen Scientology, Leah Remini, and the Aftermath, the television program, you'll recognize Valerie's story. She is the one who, while working as Shelley Miscavige's assistant, escaped from Scientology's international management base by hiding in the trunk of a car of a non-Scientologist actor who was visiting the base to shoot one of Scientology's internal training films. Pretty incredible. Let me just double check and make sure my mic is working as expected. Okay, good. Looks like it is. And so there was a hearing in this case today. I'm going to give you the update on it here in just a second. But first, I want to share with you the complaint. Boom. So this is the complaint here. You can see the case number. Superior Court for the state of California, Jane Doe plaintiff. Now, since this case was originally filed, or this suit was originally filed using Jane Doe, but that has since been removed. Valerie is using her actual name. So I'm not outing her here. Jane Doe versus Church of Scientology International, Religious Technology Center, and David Miscavige. He is personally being sued here. And this is one of the cases, one of the suits, I should say, that Miscavige is still evading service in. Okay, and the complaints are for false imprisonment, kidnapping, stalking in violation of California Civil Code, libel in violation of California Civil Code, slander, and constructive invasion of, I'm guessing that says, privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, human trafficking, failure to pay minimum wage, failure to provide days of rest, violation of California Labor Code, fraudulent inducement of employment, negligent misrepresentation, and negligence. Jury trial demanded. Okay, so let me get back over to here. So in this suit, Scientology succeeded in getting the judge to rule that because Valerie, as a Scientology Sea Org member, had signed multiple times various agreements promising to never sue Scientology, but to resolve any dispute by going to Scientology's, fraudulent internal religious arbitration system, the judge ruled that Val was not allowed to move forward in the courts with her lawsuit. And instead, she had to subject herself to Scientology's sham kangaroo court system of internal religious arbitration. Now, I could have my dates wrong there, but I feel like that ruling was at least a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, but don't hold me to that. But it's somewhere it's 2 years or less. Now, Scientology had to invent some system for their arbitration because there isn't one. It doesn't exist. It's just a sham. Anyway, they arrived at this procedure where they say Valerie would have to pick a Scientologist in good standing that she wanted to serve as one of her 3 arbitrators. I think it's arbitrators. Scientology would then pick a Scientologist in good standing to serve as one of the 3 arbitrators. Those 2 would then select a 3rd. Now, realize Valerie Haney has been declared by Scientology to be a suppressive person. And according to L. Ron Hubbard policy, it is a suppressive act for a Scientologist to do anything to assist or to benefit a suppressive person. So by having an arbitration panel composed of 3 Scientologists in good standing, it's literally impossible for those 3 members to come to any findings that would be beneficial to or preferential to Valerie and her complaint and what she's trying to accomplish. Many teams of attorneys have tried to get the courts to understand that this is not actually an arbitration. In most cases, the courts have said, whoa, we're not allowed to determine if it's fair. That's based on Scientology scripture. We're not allowed to try and interpret Scientology scripture and make any determinations about whether these people are capable of being fair. You sign these agreements, you have to go to the arbitration. Okay, so where this thing has been at is first, Valerie said, okay, fine, I select Elizabeth Moss. I select Scientologist Elizabeth Moss. And she submitted her request to Scientology's international justice chief. And the justice chief took a while to get back and said, we checked with Miss Moss and she's not available. Please select someone else. And Valerie said, okay, fine. I select Tom Cruise. And if Tom isn't available, I select Shelley Miscavige. So she submitted her request to Scientology's international justice chief. And he took a while to get back to Valerie. And he basically said, how dare you insult the integrity of this process by selecting Scientologists who you know full well would never be available. Did you know that Tom Cruise is a famous movie actor and is filming on locations all over the world? And so the international justice chief came back to Valerie and said, you have 15 days to select another arbitrator. Valerie basically just didn't, and instead moved, her attorney is basically requested the court to rule that this whole process is stalled, is bogged down, and asked the court itself to select, the judge herself, to select the arbitrators. That was the subject of today's hearing. Valerie's side, and there's sort of a catch to this, right? Because Valerie's attorney was arguing, and this is true. The argument was, Valerie is completely incapable of knowing who is in good standing with Scientology and who is not. For all she knows, she could think someone was in good standing and then they're not. Or there could be someone that she thinks is not in good standing and she would want to have on the panel, but it turns out they are in good standing. And Scientology's played games with all of this in the past as well. Because essentially, any Scientologist that Valerie actually wants on the arbitration panel, that's an indication to the international justice chief that, oh, wait a second. If Valerie thinks this Scientologist would be friendly or preferential to her, then we need to find out why Valerie feels that way. They'll pull in the Scientologist, they'll interrogate them, they'll find out what's going on, and then they'll just come back and they'll either say, not available, or they'll say, this person's not in good standing. So the argument here by Valerie's attorney is, hey, only Scientology knows who's in good standing. So we would request that Scientology submit to the judge, under seal if necessary, a comprehensive list of every Scientologist in good standing in Los Angeles County, and we request that the judge select arbitrators from that list. Seems like a pretty fair request. Scientology's attorneys basically said, Your Honor, Your Honor, you are not, I can't keep doing the accent. The court is not allowed to intervene at this point because the process isn't bogged. Valerie is just refusing to engage in good faith. Surely Valerie knows many Scientologists not named Tom Cruise who she could request. It is a totally fair argument to say, how does Valerie know that any of these people who were in good standing the last time she was in Scientology, how does she know they're still in good standing? It is a very interesting point. Okay, so I won't bury the lead here. I mean, I've already been going for 9 minutes, so apologies for that. The judge essentially ruled, okay, I'm going to give Valerie one more attempt to select an arbitrator in good faith. Now, first of all, I think it's a little dishonest to say that asking for Tom Cruise and asking for Shelley Miscavige isn't good faith. I'm sorry. Do the rules say only select arbitrators who aren't movie stars? Doesn't say that. There's no restrictions on who you can request. So to say that just by asking for Tom Cruise, that was bad faith, that's not right to me. It doesn't seem right to me. But anyway, that was the judge's ruling. We're going to give Valerie one more chance to submit a good faith request to the international justice chief for who she would like to serve on the arbitration panel. Now, it wasn't necessarily clear what one last chance means, because realize Scientology at this point is trying to say, throw the case out altogether. Valerie's not cooperating in good faith. And Valerie's attorneys are saying, whoa, 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 we've done everything that's been asked of us. It's Scientology who's basically rejecting everybody that we offer, and they seem to be refusing to provide a list of people in good standing. So, Your Honor, why don't you just select the arbitrators? If I'm being super fair, it does seem to be a little bit of gamesmanship on both sides, but that's exactly what I would expect. I mean, really, that's kind of what I would expect. I mean, what are you to do when faced with this sort of bad faith, vexatious treatment by a family-destroying human trafficking cult? Are you just supposed to submit to their will and do exactly what they want, exactly when they want, exactly the way that they want? Hell no. To hell with that. So I do have, I did keep notes for the hearing. The hearings are very slow paced, so it's not difficult to keep notes at all. I've already given you the entire spirit of the thing, but let me see if there's anything interesting in the notes so that I haven't already covered. Yeah, so Scientology's attorneys are basically saying the court, first Valerie's attorney said, Your Honor, Scientology's attorneys are asking for this whole thing to be thrown out altogether. The court doesn't actually have the power to dismiss the lawsuit at this point. The plaintiff, Valerie, has done everything that's been required of her. She's been asked to submit proposals for arbitrators. She's done that. Scientology is actually the ones responsible for any delay in this procedure. And then that is when he proposed the solution to the court. Please have Scientology submit a list of the members in good standing in the Los Angeles County area, and the court can just select from that list. The judge was very interested in that argument. She had asked Scientology's attorneys for a response, and she continued to press him for a sensible response when he failed to give one. Scientology's attorney, William Foreman, was particularly emotional for what I would expect from a professional attorney of this caliber. He really seemed to be putting on a show of indignation. And at one point, the judge asked William Foreman a question, and after he was answering for about 20 seconds, she interrupted him and said, Mr. Foreman, can you please get to the answer of my question? Oh, that tickled me, but I'm easily amused, you guys. What do I know? I grew up in a cult. Okay. So most of the conversation in this hearing was between the judge and William Foreman, the attorney. I forget if William Foreman was representing the Church of Scientology International or if he was representing RTC, but who really cares? It's pretty much one and the same. Okay, just quickly reviewing the rest here. Yeah, they went back and forth covering the same ground mostly. And the judge said, this is essentially a quote, I'd like to give her one more chance. She has to submit her request to Scientology's International Justice Chief. I'll give her one more chance to do that. We're going to defer to March 15th, 8:30 a.m. for the next hearing in this case. And then she addressed Mr. Graham Berry, who was representing Valerie Haney as a California attorney in this. Mr. Berry, your client has one more chance, and it should be a reasonable choice. Now, look, I took issue with the judge saying it should be a reasonable choice. Who the hell is the judge? And I realize, look, this is a strong statement. Who the hell is the judge to say what Scientologist in good standing is a reasonable choice? What makes a Scientologist in good standing not a reasonable choice? What if she asks for Heber Jensch, the president of the Church of Scientology? What if she asks for Guillaume Leserve, the executive director of the Church of Scientology? Mark Yeager, the former commanding officer of the Commodore's Messengers Organization International? What if she asked for, honestly, any of these, Ray Midoff, the senior case supervisor for Scientology International? Who the hell is the judge to say who's a good choice when the only rules Valerie is supposed to abide by is select a Scientologist in good standing? It's almost like Scientology is coming back and saying, we asked you to select a Scientologist in good standing, but you know what we meant. No, we don't know what you meant. What did you mean? If you would like to add additional limitations or provide clarifications, please do so, but you haven't. So I know I said a moment ago that there's a little bit of gamesmanship on both sides, but in reality, Valerie has done exactly what's been asked of her. She's provided names of Scientologists in good standing. And it's really theatrics for Scientologists to sit there and go, what? Elizabeth Moss, Tom Cruise, Shelley Miscavige? That's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? So I know that sometimes if you just see the headline of how the judge rules, it might seem like they have no real understanding of how Scientology operates, and they're sort of just blind to the whole thing. But I think it really does help to hear to listen to the hearings live, and to hear that the judge wasn't necessarily very convinced by Scientology's attorneys' arguments. And that only really comes through if you listen to these things live instead of reading the reporting about it. Like at this point, this decision seems to be a fair one. Oh, here's what I said. I don't actually know what it means. When you says we're going to give her one more chance. Well, one more chance. Does that mean you're warning Valerie, or you're warning the system? Are you warning both sides? So like, let's say Valerie submits some people and they're Scientologists in good standing, and Scientology comes back and says, oh, she's playing games. Well, does that mean the judge is going to throw out the suit? Or does that mean the judge is going to say, okay, Scientology, I said one more chance. Give me a list of members of good standing. I'm going to pick the arbitrators. Do you see what I mean? So it's hard to know what the next step will be if Scientology isn't happy with what Valerie does next. But you have to understand, there's no world in which what's good for Valerie is also something that will make Scientology happy. And that's where I really, really hope the judge really understands this. I think that she does. I guess we won't know until we see how things play out. Okay, I see some comments here. Let me find them. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. The system that I use here, StreamYard, it's not super easy to find chats once I've waited until the end of the stream. So just bear with me. Bessie Knox says, help me find Ernie. What? And hang him out to be served. By Ernie, are you talking about David Miscavige? I've never heard him called Ernie. But if somebody wants to do like some sort of a chat GPT AI animation of Bert and Ernie with David Miscavige's head on the body of Ernie, I would probably publish that on my channel. All right, let's see. We got another one here. Rebel Girl Media. Do you recommend getting on a mailing list to troll? I do recommend getting on a mailing list to troll. The problem with that recommendation is that you might actually have to buy something from an actual Church of Scientology to get on their mailing list. I don't think you can just go to their website and take one of their free personality tests. So, and I feel a little weird doing videos asking people to buy things from Scientology organizations. That being said, if you want to do it, I think it's a good idea. And, I just don't want to send thousands of people in to buy books from Scientology or something like that. Okay, Janet Cheney, what can we do to support Valerie? Well, I mean, it's not like she needs a GoFundMe for legal expenses or something like that. Her attorneys are working on contingency, so she doesn't have any legal expenses unless she wins, which is fantastic. Other than that, I'm not quite sure what you can do to support her. Maybe follow her on Instagram or something. I just don't know. I don't know that she needs any particular public support. But if she contacts me and says, no, this is something that people can do, I'll certainly let that be known. All right, Griffin family, not paying minimum wage. There was a 1994 employment contract some must have signed. So Scientology staff members and Sea Org members are, in the eyes of the law, religious volunteers. It is a little weird that they are, as religious volunteers, have no protections under the law from the perspective of like employment law, minimum wage, stuff like that, minimum wage, laws. And yet they're also contracted staff members to Scientology. It's like they are bound by contract to volunteer. And I don't have any experience with other volunteer organizations. I don't know if that's purely unique to Scientology or not, but it sure is weird. Okay, guys, before I sign off, I'm going to be doing another live stream very, very shortly. I alluded in one of my previous videos yesterday, the day before, that Scientology has an awful lot of blackmail on Ashton Kutcher. And that is why Ashton has been silent for the most part about Danny Masterson, until he just did an interview with Esquire where he was like, oh, I hope Danny's innocent. And I just don't know. Ashton knows a hell of a lot more than he's implying. And I'm going to start talking about a little bit of the stuff that Scientology has on Ashton. That's going to be in my next live stream coming up in about 30 minutes. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.